The sound of expensive heels clicking against marble echoes to the corporate plaza as Claudia Voss steps out of her midnight black Lamborghini, surrounded by a parade of nervous assistants clutching tablets and coffee cups. Her voice cuts through the morning air like a blade, sharp, entitled, and dripping with the kind of confidence that only comes from never being told no. She's the CEO of Voss Automotive, a woman who built an empire on the backs of others while convincing herself she deserved every dollar of it. But today, her perfect world is about to shatter in the most unexpected way. The company retreat was supposed to be a victory lap. Executives celebrating another record quarter while Claudia basked in their manufactured applause. That's when her prized sports car, worth more than most people's homes, suddenly coughs, sputters, and dies right there in the parking lot. The irony isn't lost on anyone. The CEO of an automotive company, stranded by her own product. "Get someone to fix this immediately," she snaps at her assistant, her perfectly manicured nails drumming against her phone case. That's when she notices him, a black man in oil-stained coveralls walking across the lot, toolbox in hand. Darius Cole, the local mechanic. Her lips curl into a cruel smile as an idea forms. The kind of idea that reveals exactly who someone really is when they think no one important is watching. "You there," she calls out, her voice carrying that particular tone wealthy people use when addressing service workers. "Think you can handle European engineering, or should I call someone more qualified?" The executives behind her snicker. They know what's coming. They've seen Claudia humiliate people before. It's practically a company sport. Darius stops, sets down his toolbox, and looks at her with eyes that seem to see right through her expensive facade. "I can take a look," he says quietly, his voice steady and measured. "Oh, this should be entertaining," Claudia laughs, turning to her board members like a performer addressing her audience. "Gentlemen, I have a proposition. If this mechanic can fix my car in 1 hour, I'll marry myself." The laughter erupts like thunder. Phones come out to record the spectacle. Someone even starts taking bets on how quickly he'll give up. But while everyone else is laughing, Darius is studying the car with the focused intensity of a surgeon examining a patient. "You're serious about this bet?" he asks, his tone carrying weight that makes something flicker in Claudia's eyes. Just for a moment. "Dead serious," she replies, though her voice wavers slightly. There's something about his calm confidence that doesn't match the narrative she's constructed in her head. The bet is made. The clock starts ticking. And Claudia Voss has just signed her own professional death warrant without even knowing it. As the crowd disperses to watch in the comfort of the air-conditioned lobby, Darius Cole makes his way back to his workshop, a world away from the glass towers and marble floors of corporate America. His garage sits on the edge of town like a forgotten relic, its weathered sign barely visible through the morning mist. But inside these humble walls, magic happens daily. The contrast couldn't be more stark. While Claudia's office overlooks the city from the 40th floor, Darius works with his hands in the honester reality. His tools are worn smooth from decades of use, each one an extension of his fingers. This isn't just a job for him. It's a calling. "Uncle D, you're home early," calls out Maya, his 12-year-old niece, looking up from her homework at the small desk he built for her in the corner of the shop. She's been living with him since her parents died in a car accident 2 years ago, a tragedy that taught them both about what really matters in life. "Got a special job today, little bird," he says, ruffling her hair as he passes. Might be working late. As he gathers his tools, his eyes fall on a faded diploma hanging on the wall. MIT Mechanical Engineering, summa cum laude. Below it, barely visible in the dim light, is a photo from another life. A younger Darius in an expensive suit, shaking hands with automotive executives at a luxury car launch. The man in that photo looks like he belongs in Claudia's world. But that man died 3 years ago, killed by corruption and a system that values profit over people. Maya follows his gaze. "You miss it sometimes, don't you? The fancy job." Darius picks up his toolbox, testing its weight in his hands. "I miss believing in it," he says softly. "But sometimes you have to lose everything to find out who you really are." He doesn't tell her about the bet, doesn't mention the mockery or the laughter, because this isn't about pride anymore. It's about principle. It's about showing a little girl that her uncle is the kind of man who keeps his word, no matter what the cost. The workshop falls quiet except for the sound of rain beginning to tap against the tin roof. Somewhere across town, in a boardroom filled with crystal and leather, powerful people are laughing at him. But Darius Cole learned long ago that the opinions of cruel people are just noise. What matters is the work. What matters is showing up. What matters is proving that greatness doesn't always wear a suit. While Darius prepares for the challenge ahead, the executives at Voss Automotive are treating the whole situation like prime-time entertainment. The 42nd floor boardroom buzzes with the kind of cruel energy that only comes from watching someone else's potential humiliation. "I can't believe she actually made that bet," laughs Richard Hawthorne, the CFO, as he pours himself another cup of imported coffee. "Does she really think some random mechanic can fix what our entire engineering team couldn't?" Claudia clicks her remote, and Darius's photo appears on a massive screen behind her, a grainy image pulled from the internet showing him in his work clothes. "Gentlemen, meet our entertainment for the afternoon. Darius Cole, local grease monkey and soon-to-be viral sensation." The room erupts in laughter again. Someone suggests they stream it live on social media. Another executive starts a betting pool on how many minutes it will take before he admits defeat. They're so busy entertaining themselves that none of them notice the uncomfortable silence from a few of the younger employees. Sarah Chun, a junior marketing associate, shifts in her chair. She grew up in a working-class family, knows the weight of being underestimated. "Don't you think this is a bit cruel?" she ventures quietly. Claudia's smile turns predatory. "Cruel? I'm giving him an opportunity to prove himself. If he's as good as he thinks he is, he'll fix the car and we'll all be impressed. If not," she shrugs, the gesture dripping with calculated indifference, "well, at least we'll have learned something about knowing one's place." Miles away, in the sacred silence of his workshop, Darius works through the night. No audience, no mockery, just a man, his tools, and a problem that needs solving. The contrast is cinematic. While they laugh in their tower of glass and steel, he labors in honest sweat and concentration. The sound of his work creates its own rhythm. The tap of a wrench, the hiss of compressed air, the gentle whisper of parts sliding into place. This is his meditation, his prayer, his art. Every bolt he turns is a rejection of their assumptions. Every diagnosis he makes is proof that wisdom doesn't always come with a corner office. By 3 a.m., he's traced the problem to its source. His trained eye spots what their expensive computers missed. A design flaw so subtle that only someone with his background would recognize it. The irony makes him smile grimly. He helped design this engine 6 years ago, back when he still believed that corporate America had room for integrity. As dawn breaks over the city, painting the sky in shades of possibility, the stage is set for a confrontation that will change everything. In her penthouse apartment, Claudia Voss sleeps peacefully, confident in her superiority. In his small house behind the garage, Darius Cole stares at the ceiling, knowing that in a few hours, he'll either vindicate every person who's ever been underestimated, or become a cautionary tale about reaching too high. But there's something his mockers don't understand, something that will soon become devastatingly clear. Darius Cole isn't just any mechanic. He's a man with nothing left to lose and everything to prove, and that makes him the most dangerous opponent Claudia Voss has ever faced. The next morning arrives with the weight of reckoning. Claudia sweeps into the parking lot like a queen attending a public execution. Her execution of a man who dared to challenge the natural order. Her entourage follows behind, board members, assistants, and a small crowd of employees who've gathered to witness what everyone assumes will be a spectacular failure. "I hope you brought your sense of humor," Claudia announces to her audience, her voice carrying across the parking lot, "because we're about to watch someone learn a very expensive lesson about hubris." Her assistant, Jessica, discreetly positions her phone to record everything. The plan is simple. Capture mechanic's failure, edit it into a humorous social media post, and use it as a case study in knowing your limitations. It's content gold, a perfect example of what happens when people step outside their designated roles in society. That's when Darius arrives, toolbox in hand, looking like he slept as peacefully as a man with a clear conscience. He doesn't acknowledge the crowd, doesn't react to their whispered comments about his appearance, his race, his obvious lack of belonging in their world. He simply approaches the car with the focused calm of a professional. "Before we begin this circus," Claudia announces, her voice dripping with theatrical authority, "let me make the terms crystal clear. 1 hour. If you can't fix what my team of master-certified technicians couldn't, you admit defeat publicly and apologize for wasting everyone's time." Darius sets down his toolbox and meets her eyes. There's something in his gaze that makes her pause, a depth that doesn't match her carefully constructed narrative about him. "And if I fix it? Then you've earned a story to tell your grandchildren," she laughs, though the sound seems forced now. "Though I wouldn't start planning that wedding if I were you." The crowd chuckles, but there's an edge to it now. Something about Darius's unwavering confidence is starting to crack their certainty. He doesn't look like a man about to be humiliated. He looks like a man who knows exactly what he's doing. As he opens the hood and begins his examination, Claudia's mocking commentary intensifies. "Look at that concentration," she narrates for her audience. He's actually convinced himself he can succeed where real professionals failed. It's almost adorable. But as minutes pass and Darius works with methodical precision, the laughter begins to fade. His movements are too sure, too confident. He's not poking around randomly like someone out of his depth. He's conducting a symphony, and every note is perfect. "Maybe you should give up now," Claudia calls out, though there's a tremor in her voice that wasn't there before. "Before you embarrass yourself further." Darius doesn't look up from his work. His hands continue their precise movements as he speaks, his voice cutting to the morning air like a blade. "You know what, Ms. Voss? You're going to regret saying that." The words land like a physical blow. Something in his tone, the absolute certainty, the quiet authority, sends a chill through the crowd. This isn't the voice of a man who's about to fail. This is the voice of someone who's been underestimated before and made his doubters pay for their arrogance. For the first time since this began, Claudia Voss feels a cold touch of uncertainty creeping up her spine. The rain begins as Darius enters the final phase of his work, each drop hitting the asphalt like a countdown to destiny. His hands move with surgical precision, every motion deliberate and necessary. Sweat beads on his forehead. Not from nervousness, but from the physical demands of the task and the weight of proving every person who's ever been dismissed wrong. The crowd grows restless. What was supposed to be quick entertainment is dragging on, and worse, their victim isn't behaving like a victim at all. He's working with the confidence of someone who belongs exactly where he is, doing exactly what he's meant to do. As Darius works, fragments of his past flash through his mind like lightning illuminating a dark landscape. The corporate boardrooms where he once sat as an equal. The handshake deals that became broken promises. The night he discovered the corruption that would cost him everything. Falsified safety reports, bribes disguised as consulting fees, and a company culture that valued stock prices over human lives. He remembers the exact moment he decided to walk away from it all. Standing in a conference room not unlike the one where Claudia's executives are probably still laughing, watching his colleagues vote to suppress evidence of a design flaw that could kill people. The same design flaw he's now fixing with his own hands. The irony is so perfect, it almost hurts. Back in the present, Claudia's confidence is evaporating like morning mist. The mechanic has been working for 47 minutes, and nothing about his body language suggests defeat. If anything, he seems more focused now, like a predator closing in on its prey. "Time's almost up," she calls out, but her voice lacks its earlier authority. Maybe it's time to admit. That's when it happens. A spark flies from the engine bay, followed by a sound that stops every conversation, every whispered joke, every smug prediction. The engine coughs once, like a giant awakening from sleep, then roars to life with a power that makes the ground vibrate beneath their feet. The sound isn't just mechanical, it's symbolic. It's the sound of assumptions shattering, of carefully constructed hierarchies crumbling, of a quiet man's vindication echoing across a parking lot filled with people who thought they knew better. Thunder rolls overhead as if the sky itself is applauding. Absolute silence follows the engine's roar, broken only by the steady rhythm of rain and the purr of perfectly tuned machinery. Every executive, every assistant, every person who came to witness a failure now stands frozen in disbelief. The impossible has just happened, and their worldview is cracking like ice in spring. Darius wipes his hands clean with a shop rag. His movements calm and unhurried. He doesn't gloat, doesn't celebrate, doesn't even seem surprised. He simply closes the hood with the satisfied air of a craftsman who's done his job well. "There," he says, his voice cutting through the stunned silence. She's alive again. Someone, no one remembers who, whispers, "Check the diagnostics." Jessica fumbles with her phone, switching from recording to running a diagnostic app connected to the car's computer. The numbers that appear on her screen make her gasp audibly. "The performance metrics," she stammers, holding up her phone for everyone to see. "They're not just normal. They're better than factory specifications. The engine is running more efficiently than when it was new." The crowd stares at the numbers, then at Darius, then back at the numbers. This isn't just a fix, it's an improvement. He hasn't simply solved their problem. He's elevated their solution beyond what they thought possible. Claudia's mouth opens and closes like a fish gasping for air. This was supposed to be her moment of triumph, her public demonstration of the natural order. Instead, she's watching her entire narrative collapse in real time. Darius hands her the keys, his fingers brushing hers, for just a moment. Up close, she can see something in his eyes that makes her stomach drop. Not anger or resentment, but pity. He looks at her like she's a child who doesn't understand the game she's been playing. "A deal's a deal, right?" she forces out, her voice cracking on the words. The laughter she attempts sounds more like a sob. That's when she notices them, reporters and bloggers drawn by the unusual crowd. Cameras already rolling, microphones extending toward the scene like electronic flowers reaching for sunlight. In the age of social media, word travels fast, and a story about a CEO making cruel bets with local workers is exactly the kind of content that goes viral for all the wrong reasons. Darius starts to walk away, but one of the reporters, a sharp-eyed woman from the local news, calls out, "Wait, aren't you Darius Cole, the former lead engineer from Preston Automotive?" The words hit the crowd like a physical blow. Preston Automotive, the company that revolutionized hybrid engine design 5 years ago. The company whose sudden closure sent shockwaves through the industry. The company whose chief engineer disappeared after blowing the whistle on massive corporate fraud. Darius stops walking, but doesn't turn around. That was a long time ago. "But you were the one who designed the engine architecture that Voss Automotive now uses in their luxury line, weren't you?" The reporter presses, her voice sharp with the scent of a major story. "The same technology that made Ms. Voss's company billions?" The silence that follows is deafening. Every executive who was laughing 5 minutes ago now looks like they want to disappear into the asphalt, because they all know the story. The brilliant engineer who exposed the corruption, the whistleblower who chose integrity over wealth, the man whose testimony sent 3 corporate executives to prison. The man they just spent the morning mocking is the reason their company exists. Claudia's face goes through a spectrum of colors. Red with embarrassment, white with shock, green with nausea. Her PR training kicks in, but it's too late. The damage is already done, already being broadcast live to social media feeds across the city. We didn't know." She stammers, but Darius finally turns around, and the look he gives her could freeze fire. "You didn't know because you never bothered to ask," he says quietly. "You saw what you wanted to see, a stereotype that made you feel superior. But here's what you really didn't know. I helped design that engine you were so proud of. I created innovations that built your fortune. And 3 years ago, when I discovered your company was using stolen technology and cutting safety corners to maximize profits, I walked away from everything rather than be part of it." The reporters are scribbling frantically now. Camera phones are capturing every word. This isn't just a story about a bet anymore. It's about corporate corruption, stolen technology, and a whistleblower who chose principle over profit. "The fraud you exposed," another reporter calls out, "wasn't that what led to the Preston Automotive scandal?" "Among other things," Darius confirms, "including falsified safety reports and bribery schemes that your current CEO's predecessor was very familiar with." Claudia's knees nearly buckle. The connection he's implying, that her company built its success on corruption and stolen designs, is the kind of allegation that destroys stock prices and ends careers. But Darius isn't finished. You want to know the real irony? The design flaw I just fixed? I flagged that exact issue 6 years ago when I was still in the industry. My recommendation was buried in committee because fixing it would have cost the company money. How many people do you think have been stranded because of that decision? How many accidents could have been prevented? The parking lot has become a courtroom, and Claudia Voss is a defendant facing a prosecutor who has all the evidence. Her empire, built on the backs of others' innovations and maintained through strategic ignorance, is crumbling in real time. Humility isn't something you can buy, Ms. Voss, Darius says, his voice carrying the weight of absolute moral authority. It's something you learn, usually the hard way. As the cameras continue rolling and the reporters continue questioning, Claudia tries one last desperate gambit to salvage her dignity. The bet, she thinks, maybe if she can turn this into a romantic comedy instead of a corporate expose, she can control the narrative. Well, she says with forced brightness, her media training kicking in like autopilot. I suppose I should honor my promise. Maybe I really should marry you after all. She tries to make it sound playful, like she's a good sport who can laugh at herself. But the words hang in the air like a toxic cloud, making everyone present physically uncomfortable. The disconnect between her tone and the gravity of what's just been revealed is so stark it's almost surreal. Darius looks at her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he speaks, and his words cut through her desperation like a scalpel through tissue. No thanks, he says simply. I don't marry arrogance. I fix what's broken. The words land with the force of a judge's gavel. Final, definitive, devastating. But apparently, he continues, looking directly into the cameras now, some things are too broken to fix. The crowd draws a collective breath. It's the kind of moment that defines viral videos, a perfect encapsulation of justice served cold, dignity restored, and power held accountable. The reporters swarm toward Darius like sharks sensing blood, but he's already walking away, his job here finished. Claudia stands alone in the center of the chaos, watching her carefully constructed world collapse around her. Her phone buzzes with notifications. The video is already spreading across social media platforms, hashtags forming organically, hashtag broken engine, hashtag corporate karma, hashtag respect workers. By evening, Voss Automotive stock price will drop 12%. By the end of the week, Claudia will be asked to take a temporary leave of absence while the board conducts a full investigation into the company's use of potentially stolen technology. But right now, in this moment, she's just a woman who made a cruel bet and discovered that the universe has a sense of irony. 6 months later, the ripple effect of that single morning continued to spread like stones thrown into still water. Darius Cole has become something he never wanted to be, a symbol. Videos of his calm dismantling of corporate arrogance have been viewed millions of times, spawning countless discussions about class, race, respect, and the dangerous assumptions we make about worth based on appearance. But he's chosen to use his unwanted fame for something meaningful. His small garage has expanded into a training center where young people from disadvantaged backgrounds learn not just automotive repair, but the deeper lesson that greatness often wears work clothes. Remember, he tells his students as they gather around an engine bay, never let anyone convince you that your hands are dirty because your work is honest. The real dirt is in boardrooms where people profit from others' innovations and call it success. Maya, now 13 and wiser than her years, helps with the paperwork and watches her uncle with pride. She's learned that heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they wear coveralls and carry toolboxes and prove their worth not with words, but with work. Across town, in a smaller office with fewer assistants and humbler furniture, Claudia Voss sits at her new desk. She's no longer a CEO. That position was quietly eliminated during the restructuring that followed her public humiliation. But she's still in the automotive industry, working for a nonprofit that provides vocational training to underserved communities. It's not the career trajectory she planned, but it's taught her something her MBA never could. That respect is earned through service, not commanded through title. Her first day at the charity, she discovered that Darius Cole sits on their advisory board. He didn't gloat, didn't mention their history, simply nodded and said, "Welcome to the real work." The circle it seems, has a way of completing itself. Tonight, as the sun sets over a city where mechanics and CEOs share the same sky, the lesson echoes in workshops and boardrooms alike. Never underestimate quiet hands, because they might just rebuild the world you thought you owned. True power isn't the ability to humiliate others. It's in the choice to lift them up instead. And sometimes, the most important repairs happen not in engine bays, but in the hearts of people who finally learn to see beyond their own assumptions. Where are you watching from tonight? And more importantly, who have you underestimated today? Because the next Darius Cole might be closer than you think, waiting patiently for their moment to show the world that greatness comes in all forms, speaks with all voices, and works with all kinds of hands. The engine roars not just with mechanical power, but with the sound of justice served, dignity restored, and humanity reminded that our worth is never determined by the clothes we wear or the assumptions others make about us. Remember to like this video if it moved you, share if it changed your perspective, and subscribe for more stories that prove the most powerful transformations happen not in boardrooms, but in the honest moments when we choose to see each other as we really are. Because sometimes the most beautiful sound in the world isn't applause or laughter. It's the roar of an engine fixed by hands that were never supposed to touch it, proving that respect, like great engineering, is built from the ground up,